Good morning, everybody. KT here with Wise Images Photography. And if this is your first time coming to my channel, I want to say welcome. We like to learn about nature photography and go on fun-filled adventures. And today, what we are going to learn about is back button focusing. And I'm going to teach you how to use it and why is it important in the first place. In order to understand back button focusing, you need to understand that cameras come with two modes. Basically, it's going to be single and it's going to be continuous. So when you think about single, think about stationary, SNS, single stationary. So you're going to think about maybe doing portraits or maybe something that basically is not moving. For your continuous mode, that's when you're looking at a moving object, so something that is continuously moving. That's where you're gonna have things like a bride going down the aisle or possibly a bird in flight. The main reason why you want to use back button focus is because it allows you to seamlessly go from single mode to continuous mode without having to worry about fiddling with your camera and going through different settings to be able to go from single to continuous mode. Let me show you with my camera. Now, if I were to go ahead and still have my camera in the default settings that it came in, basically what that means is that I would have to go ahead and I would be using my shutter button as my metering, focusing, and my taking the picture button. So I would go ahead and depress halfway down, and then I would push the shutter button all the way, the rest of the way down, and that would go ahead and take my picture. Now, if I have my camera set up in the default settings, in order to change my focus modes, I would have to go ahead and line up my shot, depress halfway down, and then take the shot. But I would have had to have my camera set like in single mode if I knew that I was taking a stationary object. If I wanted to go into continuous mode so that I could track that item, I would have to change my modes. So I literally would have to hit this button over here. And then I would also have to hit this dial over here to change between my different modes. So that's where back button focus comes into play, because basically what you do is you take your camera's default settings, and instead of having your shutter button as the focus, metering, and take your picture button, now you're taking the focusing away from the shutter and moving it to the back. Hence the reason why it's back button focus. Now, AEL or AFL will be on the back of the camera for you to go ahead and assign the back button focus to it, so that way that becomes your focusing button right there. Now, some of the newer cameras, they do have it where you have maybe two buttons in the back, so you can make one for the single and one for the continuous, so it's just a matter of going back and forth. But I'm going to go over how to go ahead and use back button focus when you only have one button here in a little bit. If you are finding value in this, please make sure that you go ahead and hit that like button so that way I know that I'm helping you out. I wish I knew all the cameras in the world and I could tell you how to go ahead and set your camera to back button focus, but go ahead and check out your manual, and that way you can go ahead and figure out how to set up your back button focus on your particular camera. So once I put my camera in back button focus mode, I've set it and forget it, because I know deep down inside what is going to affect whether I'm in single or continuous mode is going to be how I use this button in the back. So let me go ahead and explain. So let's say, for example, that I am photographing a stationary subject. Remember, S for single, S for stationary, SNS, single stationary subject. So I'm on a stationary subject. Now, if I had my camera with the shutter button set up, what would happen is if I had like a stick in the shot, let's say it was in the foreground, basically what would happen is as you're trying to take your shot, a lot of times your camera would kind of end up bouncing back and forth between trying to get onto your subject and then getting the stick, and on the subject and getting on the stick. If you are using back button focus, what will happen is you will go ahead and you will get on the subject, and then once you have your subject where you want it, you go ahead and you hit the button once. So once you find your subject, you hit the button and then it's focused on that subject. Now that it's locked in on that subject, you can now move your camera from left to right so that way you can recompose your image. Now this is really beneficial for when like if you're photographing a bird and the bird, you go ahead and you get the bird in focus and maybe, you know, the stick's kind of blocking the bird or something like that. If you maybe can hit one side of the body of the bird or another side of the body of the bird, then you can recompose the shot. The bird's going to be in focus with the stick in front of it. If you wore, you know, I was saying that one incident where if you're using your shutter button, it might bounce back and forth between the bird and the stick. If you were to continually to hold down your back button focus, you would run into the same issue, because at that point you've now switched your camera over to the continuous mode. So now the camera is going to be trying to figure out what it wants to focus on. So go ahead, pick your focus that you want to be. As long as that subject stays in position and stays on the focal plane, you'll have no issue. The only time that you would have an issue of the focus basically getting out of focus is if the subject were to move left or not left and right, but forward or backward, getting off the focal plane that it was on. Now, when we want to go ahead and switch over to continuous mode, the only thing we have to do is now we just go ahead and hold down this back button and then you track your subject, and that now puts it into continuous mode. The reason why we want to do this is because, as I demonstrated earlier, it took a couple of extra seconds to have to switch from continuous mode to single mode when I had everything assigned to the shutter button. Whereas if you're on back button focus, so let's say for example that I lock onto my target, I've hit it once, oh, it's moving. So if you notice, I don't know if you actually y'all saw that, but basically I hit the one button, I had it locked, took a couple of shots, and then it moved, and then I held down onto it, and then I moved with it. So that's basically how easy it is to go from a stationary shot to a shot that is moving. And basically those couple of seconds can mean the difference between you getting the shot or not getting the shot. If you found value in this and you think this is going to be something that helps others, go ahead and hit that like button so that way you can let them know that this is something that has helped you out. It took me a while before I went ahead and went to back button focusing. I had a couple of people keep on mentioning it, and I was like, no, I don't want to. I like, you know, using the shutter button as my focus button, and so I kind of resisted the urge to go to the shutter, or I resisted the urge to go to the back button focusing. But I had somebody challenge me one day, and I decided that, all right, fine, I'll do it. And at first I really didn't like it. It took me a little while to get used to it, but now I would not go back. I like back button focusing now. I would say you have to do what is right for you. What you like and what I like can be two different things, and that is absolutely a-okay. But I would like to encourage you to please try and see what you like, and let me know if you like it or if you don't like it in the comment section below. If you like this video or you think others would like it, please share it. Also, consider subscribing to my channel and going ahead and hit that notification bell so that way you don't miss any other future episodes. We like to learn about nature photography and go on fun-filled adventures, which is what we are doing next week. And I want to say thank you so much for tuning in today. I greatly appreciate it. Have an awesome rest of your week, and I will see you later, alligator. In order to understand